bunch of little shapes. So, I enjoy teaching them, so I think you guys will come out with some pretty good drawings, all right? Just a few tips, just a reminder, most of you've all been here, but remember you don't have an eraser, okay? So make sure you keep your lines light, okay? That's like our motto here at the Animation Academy, keep your lines light. And also draw from your shoulder, because your shoulder is ball and socket joint, and all of our characters are very, very round, so that'll really help get those round shapes. Okay, so we've got about 30 seconds before my camera turns on. I usually like to share a little trivia about the characters that we're drawing. So my first question for you about Donald here, can any of you tell me what his middle name is? Anyone know Donald Duck's middle name? It starts with the letter F.
Fauntleroy?
Yes, it is. It's Fauntleroy, Donald Fauntleroy Duck. He's a big Donald fan, so. All right, yes, Donald Fauntleroy Duck. And actually, the way that we learned that is in the 1940s, Donald was in a bunch of wartime cartoons, and it was on his draft notice. So that's how we found his middle name out. Okay, so my camera's on here, okay, and we're going to start Donald off with the circle. Okay, so you just drew Mickey, so you should be good at drawing circles now. All right, so we're going to put kind of like an orange shape right in the middle of our page, okay? Just go round and round, keep it light, draw from your shoulder. Okay, don't try to get that perfect circle on the first try. I'm going to go around a few times. And I'm going to make mine just a tiny bit darker so you can see it, so don't make yours as dark as mine. Alright, so everyone's got a nice round shape. It's okay if it's not perfect, because Donald isn't he's not a perfect circle like Mickey, so. Okay, so once you get that round shape, we're going to place some guidelines to help us place the features on his face. The first one's actually going to go right through the center, top to bottom, and cut your circle in half. Alright, and our other guideline's going to be way down at the bottom of our circle there, alright? Anyone know why we're going to put it really low on the circle? His bill, yeah, that's one reason. There's actually another reason. His eyes. He has huge, huge, huge eyes. He has really big eyes. They're going to take up pretty much that whole space up here at the top of your circle, so really big eyes. So yeah, his bill sits low on his face and he has big eyes. Okay, so those are all of our guidelines. We're going to go ahead and start placing some features on Donald now, okay? And since I just mentioned them, let's go ahead and put those eyes on first, okay? Now, he is a duck, so I usually like to think of his eyes as like giant eggs, egg shapes. Alright, they're going to sit right on top of that guideline that you just drew. And again, it takes up that whole space up there. You're going to do that same shape over on the other side. You usually spend the most time on the eyes because they are the most important part of your characters, so get those really good. So there we go, some giant egg shapes there for his eyes. Now what we're going to do, now that we have these eye shapes on there, we're going to place 5 upside down letter U's around them, okay? And the first 2 are going to be his eyebrows. These are going to be right above his eyes. They follow the same exact curve as the top of his eye there. Right, you notice they actually go outside your circle and they come back in. Right, you'll do the same thing over here. Alright, so there's our first two U shapes. Now the other three are all going to be down here. They're going to be parts of his bill, okay? So we're going to do one going from the bottom of one eye over to the bottom of the other. Okay, so if he had a nose, that's exactly what this line would be. But he really doesn't have a nose, he's a duck, so. He does have nostrils though, they flare up when he's angry, so. Okay, and then off the sides of his eyes, those are where our last two U shapes are going to be. And these are going to be his cheeks. They just curve outside your circle here. Okay, and just stop them at your guideline for now. Alright, how's everyone doing so far? Are we doing okay? He doesn't look all like Donald yet, so don't worry. He kind of looks like an alien right now. Big eyes. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start making him look a little bit more duck-like. We're going to finish off the rest of his bill now. Okay, so to finish off that bill, we're going to draw two curved lines. We're going to draw one inside his, both of his cheeks here. Okay, so two little tiny lines. Now that's actually the top of his smile. Okay, that's like the very bottom side of his cheek. He's smiling so wide it's pushing his cheeks up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to very, very lightly sketch in a curved line down here at the bottom of your circle. Okay, this is the end of Donald's bill. Okay, and what you're going to do, you're actually going to connect this line down here to those dimples that we just drew with two S curves, okay? And these are probably the hardest shapes to draw on Donald. So just watch me do it and then do it on your page, okay? So if you think of a letter S, it's going to start at your dimple right here. And it follows your circle at first, okay? So follow your circle. Then about halfway down, you're going to bring it out and then back down to touch that line at the bottom of his bill there. Okay, and remember, just keep it light, and you can always change it if you make a mistake. But it looks like a letter S when it's finished. Okay, so that's that side. You're going to do the same thing over here, only on this side it's going to be a backwards letter S. Alright, so again, start at your dimple and follow that circle. Then about halfway down, bring it out, and then right back in. Right, and if you keep it light, you can still change it, so keep those lines light. And then you can go over all those lines once you're happy with them. Okay, now his bill is actually almost finished. There's only one more thing you have to do to finish it off. And that's just to add a little depth to it, okay? Because it is popping off the page towards us. So we need to do something called foreshortening. And that can be done with a little line right across the middle of his bill there. Alright, so there you go. The top of his bill is now finished. Wasn't so hard, was it? You guys are quiet today. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and work on his mouth now, okay? So now that our bill is finished here. And we're going to have his mouth wide and open, alright? And his mouth is actually the same size as one of his eyes, so he's got a really big mouth too, okay? So we're going to start that mouth just by taking these cheeks and extending them down on each side to touch his bill. Just bring them down on each side. And if you imagine that continuing through, alright, his mouth is kind of like a little square, alright? It does have rounded corners, but it's a little square shape. Right, I'm going to just kind of very, very lightly sketch that in, and then you can always go over it, so. Right, remember, it's a big mouth, just about the same size as one of those eyes, so. If you make it too small, it might look a little bit more like Daisy, so. Okay, and once you draw that mouth shape, you're actually going to draw it one more time, only this time you want to imagine it coming down from these dimples here. Okay, so, and then you just follow that same curve all the way around. So this one's a little bit easier to draw. Alright, and we are almost done with the whole bottom half of his face. There's only one thing left. Anyone know what it is?
Tongue.
His tongue, that's right. Now, Donald has a little V-shaped tongue. It's probably the easiest shape to draw on him. This is right there on the bottom of his bill. Little letter V. Okay, and you can even put a dimple on it if you want, right in the middle, little curved line. Okay, and that's the whole bottom half of his face, so that's all finished down there. Are we do okay on that? Me? Okay. Alright, so what we need to do now, we need to connect that bill to the rest of his head, okay? Because right now it's not connected, it's about to fall off his face, so we have to put some little lines to have that attached to his face there, okay? So there are going to be two little curved lines that just kind of curve off the side of his cheeks here and up to your circle. Alright, now those might be very, very small, unnoticeable lines, but they're very important. Alright, that's what holds his bill onto his head. Okay, and as far as feathers go, Donald's feathers are usually ruffled in different ways. So for the sides of his head, you can do one of two things. You can either trace over your circle, right, just leave it at that. Or if you want to put some feathers right there, you can think of them like little shark fin shapes, all right, little tiny shark fins. And try to mix them up. You don't want them all to be the same. You can do that over here too. You put 3 on one side and 4 on the other. Okay, and he does have some little feathers up at the top of his head too. So these ones are going to be a little bit bigger than the ones on the side. I'll usually just start with one coming off of his eyebrow there. And it's going to curve up and then back down to that circle. It's our first little shark fin. And then we'll have another one just kind of flop over on the side of his head there. And maybe one down over his forehead. Okay, and if you want, you can even add a little line underneath that last feather. It kind of adds a little weight to it. Makes it look like there's more feathers underneath. Okay, and if any of his head is still showing, just trace over that. Alright, it's right there. Top of your circle. If any of that's still showing, just trace it. Okay, so at this point, the main part of his head, with the exception of his pupils, is pretty much done. Okay, but we do have a lot of time left, so I am going to show you how to do the sailor hat. Okay, and it is optional. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. Okay, so it's up to you whether you draw the hat on or not. He doesn't always wear it, so. But if you want to try that sailor hat, you're going to start it off with a little line off each of his eyebrows here, okay? Made the one on the right a little bit longer. And then you're going to actually connect these lines with a big curved line that goes behind those feathers. Alright, and that part of his hat is actually black. That's like the little brim around the bottom. Okay, and so you can just give that a quick scribble, just kind of shade it in real fast. Alright, I'll go ahead and move this down now so you can see the top part of his hat. Alright. Now, the top of his hat, when it's finished, it kind of looks like a little bean on top of his head. Alright, but I like to break it down into two separate shapes. Usually I think of like 2 letter C's, okay? And I'll start with the bigger side of his hat first, okay? Because one side of his hat is always bigger than the other. So I'm just going to very, very lightly sketch in kind of like a C shape. And it's a little flatter on the top than it is on the bottom. So it's going to curve off the eyebrow there. And it goes up and then back down. Okay, and when you get that line, you can trace over it if you like. So what you're going to do on the back side of this hat, you're actually going to do another C shape. So this one was a backward C, and now we're going to draw a forward C. This one's going to be the smaller side of his hat, so it's not going to be quite as big as the one you just drew. Right, just kind of comes off the back of that line you just drew, and over into the other eyebrow. Okay, so when his hat is finished there, if you imagine those two lines connecting, you can kind of see a little bean up there on top. It's that bean shape. Okay, and there's only one thing we have to do to finish off that hat. Anyone know what that is?
Oh, the little ribbon.
Yeah, he's got a ribbon that hangs off the back, yeah. And the ribbon's pretty easy to draw. It's just like a curved letter W. It's just going to hang off the back here. The ribbon is also black, so you can shade that in. Okay, and like I said, there's only one thing left, and those are the pupils. And most of you know why I like to save those pupils for last. So yeah, it's really going to help bring your drawing to life. So that's the best reason. All right, so he does have very, very large pupils. They're going to take up a good amount of space in the bottom part of his eye there. It's a nice big pupil. Make sure you draw an entire oval in, because if you don't, he does look a little cross-eyed. So no cross-eyed Donalds. And once you get your pupils in, you can shade those in. And there you have it, a pretty quick lesson on how to draw a Donald Duck. Okay, so when you're finished with your drawing, make sure you sign it. You should always put your name on everything you draw so everyone knows who did it. Okay, and today is the 30th of July, so it's 7:30:09. Alright, so you got a couple more minutes before the camera turns off there, alright? So you still have some time to finish up your drawing. Alright, how did everyone do, by the way? Did you do alright? Yeah, did you do better than Mickey? Better than Mickey? Or yeah, you did? Okay. Well, that's the way all that practice came in, so, you know, you get better every time you draw, so. Oh, I love your bill there. The bill looks great. Good job. And your feathers. We'll have to wait for the so. All right, well, since we've got a little time left, I also like to do a little bit more trivia about Donald here before we go. Now, Donald has a sister, and she's the mother of Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Does anyone know her name? Well, Daisy's his girlfriend, so it's not Daisy. Anyone know Donald's sister? No? Alright, well, it's Dumbella. Dumbella Duck. Kind of a silly name there. I think Donald has some cruel parents. Let's see, what else? Well, does anyone know when Donald made his first appearance? Anyone know what that was? I'll give you a hint. He just turned 75, I think. 75. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah. No? Alright, well, he was actually born in 1934. That was his first debut. And that was in the short, the Wise Little Hen. And if you're not familiar with that story, it's about the hen who wants to make the bread, and Donald's one of the characters that won't help her at all. That's typical Donald for you. So, alright, well, I think most of you are finished up there. So I'm going to go ahead and open the doors in the back of the theater there for you. So whenever you're ready, they will be open, okay? Thank you very much for drawing Donald with me. I hope you all had a great time, okay? And you can keep your drawings, just leave your pencils behind. We need those for our classes tomorrow, okay? And enjoy the rest of your night, okay? And thanks for visiting us at Disney's Hollywood Studios.